WTMA. Charleston.
7 o'clock. Good evening, Keith Nichols, WTMA News. It's only one major news story across the state today, the weather. The worst snowstorm of this century is beginning to end across South Carolina finally. The storm has dumped an unbelievable 14 inches of snow in the Midlands and up to 6 to 8 inches of snow and several more of ice here in Charleston and along the coast. Surprisingly, the mountains and Piedmont areas have received only minor precipitation during the last 24 hours, and thousands of persons are without power and heat. Hundreds have been stranded by snow drifts up to 5 feet deep. The National Weather Service says the snow has virtually ended in the Midlands, but another inch or two is expected in the Charleston area before it ends early this evening. Temperatures will continue to be well below freezing, and there will be very little, if any, melting throughout the weekend. As a result, highways have been virtually impassable and will become frozen solid. Driving is extremely hazardous. Hundreds of motorists on Interstate 26 here in Charleston were trapped in their cars for a few hours this morning, but they were rescued by law enforcement authorities. A Trailways bus headed from Columbia to Augusta was trapped in a snowbank on Highway 25 between Aiken and Augusta about 3 a.m. this morning. It was nearly 10 hours later before another bus with chains was able to carry the passengers to the warmth of the Augusta, Georgia bus terminal. Major power problems are reported here in Charleston and Beaufort late this afternoon. Power crews are being sent from all points throughout the state to help. Sullivan's Island, James Island, Mount Pleasant have been hit hard. Many residents without power, heat, or electricity since before dawn. Falling tree limbs coated with ice continue to be a problem here in the coastal area. Strong gusty winds have added to the discomfort. Winds up to 25 miles per hour have caused snowdrifts up to 5 feet around Aiken, Orangeburg, and Columbia. And gale warnings are posted for the Charleston area tonight. Winds have whipped the snow at times, blinding motorists in the Midlands and adding to the difficulties of travel. The chief meteorologist at the National Weather Service office in Columbia, John Purvis, says the snowstorm is the worst to hit the Palmetto State since the Weather Bureau began keeping records in 1899. Purvis said the storm hit the Midlands hardest with over a foot of snow, while 6 to 8 inches was expected in the low-country counties and along the coast before nightfall. A 75-year-old Columbia man told us that not only could he remember as much snow before, but he was certain his mother had never seen as much. The storm which caused the snow is now well off the North Carolina coast. The very cold high-pressure system is centered over the Great Lakes region and allowing the low to pull the extremely cold air down the east coast as far south as mid-Florida. Temperatures will be in the 20s tonight, the 30s tomorrow, so don't expect much melting before the first of the week. Business activity on a normally busy day Saturday afternoon came to a snowy halt all across the state. Only a handful of cars tried to negotiate slick streets here in Charleston, and only a few stores remained open to provide groceries and emergency supplies. Newspapers pushed small editions using only skeleton staffs, and all radio stations are on the air extra hours to provide the information. In other news briefly, South Carolina wasn't alone in its snow and ice miseries today. A state of emergency has been declared for Macon, Georgia, which is virtually cut off by a 15-inch snowfall. Helicopters have been used to help locate stranded motorists on Georgia highways, and business has come to a standstill throughout much of the lower south. The storm, the worst of the century, left the land of magnolias and cotton shivering and surprised. 2 persons were killed in a wreck after speeding at more than 100 miles per hour in Greenville early this morning. The victims, 31-year-old Grover McGee and 38-year-old Betty Ruth Booker, both of Greenville. The accident occurred shortly after midnight. WTMA news time is 7:03. Very little, if any, melting through the weekend of the major snow and ice storm called by the Weather Bureau the worst storm of the century. It is now beginning to end across South Carolina. Charleston skies are cloudy with snow, and it's 26 degrees. That's WTMA News and what's happening Saturday, February 10th, 1973.